Good morning students. Students, in this video lecture we would start the topic which is gravitation. So this topic I am telling you that this topic is not coming in your unit test. So don't be panic that is it coming in the unit test. There is only one topic which is force. In law of motion chapter you have to only give the test of the topic force which we have discussed till yesterday video lectures. So prepare that topic only and do the numerical problems, concept and study all the video related to only force chapter. Now we are going to start the topic gravitation. So what is the gravitation? What is the gravity means here? Actually Newton ने एक्चुअली क्या किया था, इन्होंने इस लॉ को क्या किया था, रिप्रेजेंट किया था. न्यूटन गिव दिस लॉ ग्रेविटेशन, लॉ ऑफ ग्रेविटेशन. तो दिस इज कॉल्ड न्यूटन्स लॉ ऑफ ग्रेविटेशन. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पर ग्रेविटी का क्या मतलब है, तो देखिए न्यूटन ने क्या बताया, ईच एंड every mass particles attract each other. ठीक है. तो व्हाट इज द कॉज ऑफ ग्रेविटेशन? सबसे पहले तो हम लोग ये समझेंगे इस चैप्टर में कि ग्रेविटी या ग्रेविटेशन की जो हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं क्या होता है और इसका कॉज क्या है, इसका कारण क्या है, इसका रीजन क्या है, किस वजह से ये होती है. देखिए जैसे हम लोग कहते हैं कि ये हमारा ऑब्जेक्ट है, ठीक, इसको मैंने यहाँ पर होल्ड करके रखा है, मैंने हाथ हटा लिए, ये वहां पर ही क्यों नहीं स्टे रहा, नीचे क्यों चला गया? बिकॉज ऑफ ग्रेविटी. किसकी वजह से? ग्रेविटी की वजह से. एक्चुअली अर्थ जो है हमारी, अर्थ हम लोगों को जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट है इस अर्थ पर सारे हम लोग भी हैं, ठीक है, ये चौक है, ये डस्टर है, ये सारी चीजें हैं, ठीक है. तो इन सभी को अर्थ अपनी तरफ, अपने सेंटर की तरफ क्या कर रही है, अट्रैक्ट कर रही है. दिस अट्रैक्शन फोर्स इज कॉल्ड ग्रेविटेशन फोर्स. ठीक है. बट यहाँ पर पहली चीज तो इसका आपको एक आइडिया हो गया, ग्रेविटी का आपने सुना भी है. अब इसका रीजन क्या है, व्हाई इट इज हैपनिंग, ऐसा हो क्यों रहा है? तो ग्रेविटी का जो मेन कॉज है, मेन कारण है, वो है मास. क्या है? मास. ठीक है. तो मास, ये जो ग्रेविटी है इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ मास. ठीक है. अब जैसे कि हम लोग बात करें, जैसे मान लीजिए हम हैं और ये चौक, ठीक है, इस चौक का मास है, बिल्कुल है, हमारा मास है, बिल्कुल है, हम दोनों ही मास ऑब्जेक्ट हैं, ठीक है, मास इसका भी है, मास मेरा भी है. तो क्या हम दोनों के बीच में फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन है, क्या ग्रेविटेशन अप्लाई हो रहा है? बिल्कुल हो रहा है. तो क्या ये चौक मेरी तरफ अट्रैक्ट हो रही है? नहीं. क्या मैं इसकी तरफ अट्रैक्ट हो रहा हूँ? नहीं. तो आप कहेंगे सर फोर्स तो लग रहा है बट कोई मूवमेंट नहीं है, कोई अट्रैक्शन नहीं है. ठीक है. मैंने आपको फोर्स चैप्टर में ये पढ़ाया था, तो बताया था फोर्स कैन प्रोड्यूस द मोशन, फोर्स कैन कॉज द मोशन, फोर्स कैन प्रोड्यूस द मोशन, बट इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी दैट ऑलवेज इफ देयर इज अ फोर्स देयर विल बी मोशन. जैसे ये वॉल है, इस वॉल पे अगर आप फोर्स अप्लाई करेंगे तो क्या ये वॉल मूव करेगी? बताइए. बट इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं है कि आपने फोर्स अप्लाई नहीं किया, आप फोर्स अप्लाई कर रहे हैं, इसके बाद भी वो फोर्स सफिशिएंट नहीं है इस वॉल को क्या करने के लिए, मूव कराने के लिए. समझ गए? इसी तरीके से ऐसा नहीं है कि यहाँ पर ग्रेविटेशन नहीं लग रहा है. द ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स बिटवीन द चॉक एंड अस, बिटवीन मी इज प्रेजेंट हियर, बट देयर इज अ नो मोशन बिकॉज दैट फोर्स इज नॉट सफिशिएंट टू मूव ईदर चॉक और मी. दोनों में से किसी को भी मूव कराने के लिए वो फोर्स सफिशिएंट नहीं है. क्यों नहीं है ये मैं अभी आपको डिस्कस करता हूँ, हम लोग डिस्कस करते हैं. तो क्या था ग्रेविटेशन का लॉ? न्यूटन ने क्या ऑब्जर्व किया था, इन्होंने बताया था ईच एंड एवरी कैसे पार्टिकल, मास पार्टिकल का मास है, अट्रैक्ट ईच अदर. अब यहाँ पर क्या था, इन्होंने क्या बताया, फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन. देखिए वन इंपॉर्टेंट चीज, मैंने आपको फोर्थ चैप्टर में भी बताया होगा, जो ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स होता है, जो आपका ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स होता है, ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स जो होता है, इट इज ऑलवेज अट्रैक्टिव। ये हमेशा ऐसा होता है, अट्रैक्टिव होता है, ये रिपल्सिव नहीं होता है, इट इज ऑलवेज अट्रैक्टिव, ऑलवेज। ये आपका ऑलवेज क्या होता है, अट्रैक्टिव होता है। ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स जो होता है किन्हीं भी दो मास ऑब्जेक्ट के बीच में, जो ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स होता है ये हमेशा अट्रैक्टिव नेचर का होता है, मतलब अट्रैक्ट ही करता है, रिपेल नहीं करता है। तो यहाँ पर लिखते हैं क्या इन्होंने न्यूटन ने बताया, फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन, फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन बिटवीन टू mass object, between two mass objects, the force of attraction between two mass particles या कह सकते हैं mass objects is directly proportional to product of their masses, and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between their centers, ठीक है। अब ये है क्या, ये तो थ्योरी है हमने लिख दी कि फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन। तो इसके लिए हम लोग एक एग्जांपल जैसे लेते हैं, मान लीजिए ये हमारा एक ऑब्जेक्ट है, दिस इज अ ऑब्जेक्ट, एंड इस ऑब्जेक्ट का जो मास है वो है हमारा m1। क्या मास है, हमने लेट कर दिया इसका मास है m1। वी हैव अनदर ऑब्जेक्ट, इसका मास है हमारा m2। ओके, इन दोनों के सेंटर्स के बीच की डिस्टेंस क्या है, सेंटर्स के बीच की डिस्टेंस है, मान लीजिए ये r है, क्या है, r है, ठीक है। अब इसका भी मास है, इसका भी मास है, दोनों के ही मास है। तो हमें पता है कि कोई भी दो ऑब्जेक्ट जिनके मासेस होते हैं उनके बीच में ग्रेविटी या ग्रेविटेशनल जो फोर्स है वो प्रेजेंट होता ही होता है। हमें पता है इसका कॉज मास है तो ग्रेविटेशन है। तो जो फोर्स लगेगा, मतलब ये ऑब्जेक्ट इसको अपनी तरफ अट्रैक्ट करेगा, इधर खींचेगा, ये इसको अपने को इधर खींचेगा। आगे बात समझे, यहाँ पर जो फोर्स लगेगा इसको हमने नाम दे दिया F12, यहाँ पर जो फोर्स लगेगा उसका नाम दे दिया F21। मतलब फोर्स ऑन फर्स्ट ऑब्जेक्ट बिकॉज ऑफ सेकंड ऑब्जेक्ट, फोर्स ऑन सेकंड ऑब्जेक्ट बिकॉज ऑफ फर्स्ट ऑब्जेक्ट। दोनों ही एक दूसरे को अपनी तरफ क्या करेंगे, अट्रैक्ट करेंगे। वो उस पर फोर्स अप्लाई करेगा, ये इस पर फोर्स अप्लाई करेगा, और ये इस पर भी उतना ही फोर्स अप्लाई करेगा। अब ये जो फोर्स है, चाहे वो हम F12 की बात करें या F21 की बात करें, ये जो फोर्स यहाँ पर लग रहा है, ठीक है, F21, ये प्रोपोर्शनल होगा। क्या होगा, प्रोपोर्शनल। अब हम इसको मैथमेटिकली इसका फॉर्मूला क्या होगा उसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं। तो ये लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पर, फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन बिटवीन द टू मास ऑब्जेक्ट्स इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ देयर मासेस। तो इन दोनों के मासेस का प्रोडक्ट यानी m1 m2 का प्रोडक्ट के प्रोपोर्शनल हो गया। उसके बाद इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल, F12 प्रोपोर्शनल यानी 1 अपॉन किसके, इनके बीच की डिस्टेंस के स्क्वायर, स्क्वायर देखिए यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है प्रोपोर्शनल टू स्क्वायर ऑफ द डिस्टेंस बिटवीन देयर। तो डिस्टेंस क्या है, r है, तो r का स्क्वायर, ठीक है। इन दोनों को एक साथ अगर हम कर लें तो ये हमारा आ जाएगा F12 प्रोपोर्शनल टू m1 m2 बाई r स्क्वायर, ठीक। इक्वलिटी का साइन लगाते हैं, प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी जब कभी भी हटाते हैं एक ना एक कांस्टेंट लगता है। क्या कांस्टेंट लगता है, कोई ना कोई कांस्टेंट लगता है। बट यहाँ पर जो कांस्टेंट है उसका नाम क्या है, कैपिटल G। जब ये इक्वलिटी लगेगी एक कांस्टेंट लगता है, उस कांस्टेंट का यहाँ पर नाम है कैपिटल G, m1 m2 अपॉन r स्क्वायर। तो ये हमारा फॉर्मूला आ गया, दिस इज द फॉर्मूला फॉर फाइंडिंग force of gravitation between the two mass object, their masses are m1 and m2 and the distance between their centers is r। तो ये फॉर्मूला आपका आ गया फाइंड करने का फोर्स। ठीक है, इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर्मूला है। कैपिटल जी जो कांस्टेंट है इसकी वैल्यू क्या होती है, इसकी वैल्यू आती है 6.67 into 10 की पावर माइनस 11। दिस इज द वैल्यू ऑफ कैपिटल जी, 6.67 into 10 की पावर माइनस 11। ठीक है, तो ये जो आपका कांस्टेंट होता है दिस इज कॉल्ड यूनिवर्सल कांस्टेंट, यूनिवर्सल ग्रेविटेशनल कांस्टेंट। दिस इज कॉल्ड यूनिवर्सल ग्रेविटेशनल कांस्टेंट, यूनिवर्सल ग्रेविटेशनल कांस्टेंट, ग्रेविटेशनल कांस्टेंट। ओके, कैपिटल इज यूनिवर्सल ग्रेविटेशनल कांस्टेंट, इसकी वैल्यू 6.6 10 की पावर माइनस 11। अगर आपको इसकी यूनिट निकालनी हो जी की कैपिटल की, तो आप इसी फॉर्मूले से निकालते हैं यूनिट। कैसे निकालेंगे, g इक्वल टू आपका क्या बनेगा, ये इसके साथ मल्टीप्लाई में fr² m1 m2 डिवाइड में अपॉन m1 m2। ठीक है, फोर्स की एसआई यूनिट आपको पता है न्यूटन, ये डिस्टेंस है, डिस्टेंस की यूनिट होती है मीटर स्क्वायर लगाए तो मीटर स्क्वायर हो जाएगा अपॉन m मास है, मास की यूनिट होती है केजी, दोनों ही मास है तो इसकी भी यूनिट हो जाएगी केजी, केजी इनटू केजी क्या बनेगा केजी स्क्वायर, तो इसकी यूनिट आ गई न्यूटन मीटर स्क्वायर, केजी ऊपर जाएगा तो केजी की पावर माइनस 2। दिस इज द यूनिट न्यूटन मीटर स्क्वायर केजी की पावर माइनस 2। तो हम लोगों ने क्या सीखा इस चैप्टर में स्टार्टिंग में कि कोई भी आपके दो मास पार्टिकल मास ऑब्जेक्ट हैं तो उनके बीच में एक क्या होता है फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन होता है एंड दैट फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स कहलाता है। ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर जैसे कि हमने मैं आपको बताया ये चौक है और ये मैं हूँ, इसका भी मास है मेरा भी मास है, तो हम दोनों के बीच में भी एक फोर्स अप्लाई हो रहा है। अगर हमें उस फोर्स को फाइंड करना है तो हमारे पास फॉर्मूला भी आ गया F=G m1 m2/r²। m1 चौक का मास, m2 हमारा मास। ठीक, हम दोनों के बीच के डिस्टेंस ये आपके r, g आपको पता है कितना होता है, सॉल्व कर लेंगे तो f की वैल्यू आ जाएगी। लेकिन जब आप इस f की वैल्यू निकालेंगे, अगर इस चौक और मेरे बीच कितना फोर्स अप्लाई हो रहा है, तो ये जो f की वैल्यू आएगी ये बहुत ही कम आएगी, क्या आएगी, बहुत ही स्मॉल वैल्यू आएगी। क्यों स्मॉल वैल्यू आएगी, आप देख सकते हैं g की वैल्यू को जरा देखिए, ये है 6.67 10 की पावर माइनस 11। क्या ये वैल्यू बहुत ही ग्रेटर है, नहीं, ये वैल्यू बहुत ही क्या स्मॉल है क्योंकि पावर में क्या लगा है -11। तो ये जो वैल्यू आप देख रहे हैं बहुत ही स्मॉल है, इसकी वजह से ये जो फोर्स आएगा इस चौक और मेरे बीच में, तो ये बहुत ही क्या होगा स्मॉल फोर्स होगा, जिसकी वजह से आपका फोर्स अप्लाई तो हो रहा है और हमारे इसके बीच में अट्रैक्टिव चार्ज मुझे अट्रैक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रही है और मैं हमारी बॉडी इस चौक को अट्रैक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रही है, बट बिकॉज ऑफ दैट मिनिमम अमाउंट फोर्स देयर इज अ नो इफेक्ट, देयर इज अ नो मोशन। ठीक है, बट अर्थ क्या है, अर्थ का मास बहुत ही ज्यादा होता है, दैट्स व्हाई द फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन बाय द अर्थ इज एक्सपीरियंस्ड बाय द ऑब्जेक्ट। ओके, अब यहाँ पर चाहे तो आप इसको m1 की वैल्यू दे सकते हैं, 40 kg ले लिया किसी स्टूडेंट ने, उसका मास 40 kg है, चौक का मास कितना होगा 1 kg भी नहीं होगा, चलो आप 1 kg ले लो। ठीक है, तो 40 × 1 क्या हो गया, 40 × 1 डिस्टेंस, आप ये तो 1 मीटर ले लो, 1 मीटर ले लेते हैं, तो ये आपका हो गया 40 × 1 अपॉन 1 का स्क्वायर 1, और तो ये आपका फाइनली g से मल्टी हो जाएगा, तो f की वैल्यू आपकी आ जाएगी 40 × 6.67 × 10 की पावर माइनस 11। तो जरा बताइए ये वैल्यू जो आई है इसका मल्टी भी आप करा दोगे तो क्या बहुत ग्रेटर वैल्यू है, नहीं, ये भी अभी बहुत ही स्मॉलर वैल्यू है। इसका मतलब है अगर फोर्स को बहुत ज्यादा इंक्रीज कराना है तो मास जो आपका है m1 m2, ये मास जो है बहुत ज्यादा होना चाहिए। इसीलिए जो ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स होते हैं ये हेवनली बॉडी के लिए एक्सपीरियंस किए जाते हैं, जैसे अर्थ का मास बहुत ज़्यादा होता है तो उसका अफेक्ट हम पर क्या होता है, एक्सपीरियंस हमें होता है, वो हम हर ऑब्जेक्ट को क्या कर रही है, अट्रैक्ट कर रही है और वो हमें क्या हो रहा है, दिखाई दे रहा है, फील कर रहे हैं। ठीक है, तो ये सारी बातें यहाँ पर हो गई। नेक्स्ट वीडियो लेक्चर में हम लोग इसी के आगे कंटिन्यू करेंगे। आज के लिए इतना ही। सो थैंक यू स्टूडेंट्स, वी विल मीट इन द नेक्स्ट वीडियो लेक्चर।
Hello student, with a pleasant morning. I, at the platform of Shivaji Group of Institutions, welcome you with a video lecture class. Students, we were continuing the topic that was Chief Seattle speech, and it was written in 1854. So, we have discussed 3 paragraphs over here. This one is one of the most difficult speech in English literature. It's not difficult, but we can say it's not an ordinary speech. It's not common. It is something that is profound. It is something that is deep in it. So we have to make a revision. We have to just remember all the things that has been passed. So first of all, I just want to memorize you the things that has been happened. We have discussed in our previous lecture so that the thing will become in their line. So student, what was happening? There are red Indian, these are called Native American, and the white people that are Britishers. So student, we are seeing that they both have a feeling of bad blood, they both have enmity, and here we have discussed that the government of America, they had given a proposal of friendship. They wanted to do friendship with Red Indian. That's why they had given a letter, they had wrote a letter to them. So, in return of that, what was the reaction of the Chief Seattle? Finding that type of the proposal, having that type of the proposal. So it's not a matter of being surprised, really it happens because the proposal and the friendship that was given by the government of the America, means who was sitting at the Washington, George Washington, fine. So those who was giving a proposal of friendship, we just want to create a feeling of humanity between them. So this was really a surprising matter. It's really impossible to believe. No one can believe it at all. That's why this speech is so profound in it. This speech is so deep in it. If you read this speech again and again, you'll really get the exact meaning. You will really get a pathos and the misery that is imbibed in this speech. So student, you have to be concentrate. You have to give a proper concentration towards the speech if you want to get it properly. Unless and until you get it, unless and until you give proper attention to it, you will never get it properly. So the first and foremost thing for you, give a proper attention and read it line by line and try to find out the difficult words that are coming over here. You have to write the meaning of that one. So what was happening? Here the context is that suppose that you are living at your home and any prominent or dominant person comes to your house and he asks that you will not be the owner of your land till now, and I just wanted to buy your home, I just wanted to buy your building and place where you are sitting, that is your home. And home and house, home and house, you will know what is the difference between home and house. House is the type of the building that everyone has, but the home, the place that you live, you have a lots of affection and attachment with your home. So the Red Indian were living at the place, and that place was not about to in the possession of them. The white people, the government of the white people wanted to buy that place, wanted to buy the land of the Red Indians, Native American. So that is why they were very disappointed. They were really afraid of seeing all these things. And this is the thing that is happening. I'm just giving you the example of that one, that if someone comes to your house and buy your home and buy your property, and in option of that, he will say to you that you will not be owner of your land, and in the place of that, I will allot you some another place to sit over there. But that will not be only reside there. You can only pass some time there. That is only the place of your shelter. That is only the place of your taking a relief and relaxation. But that will not be your own. You will not be the owner of that place. This is the thing that was happening with the red Indian and the white people. So some people will greatly accept this proposal, but some will not. Because it's not a good thing. Is it a good thing? Do you think, student, is it a good thing if someone will come to your house and say that I want to buy your land, I just want to buy your home, and in the place of that I will offer you some another place to live over there, and but you will not be the owner of that one, you can only live there, you can only settle there. So is it a good proposal for you? No, it's not a good proposal in the real sense. In the real sense, in reality, of course, it's an absurd thing. Absurd is the exploitation of the red Indian. Exploitation. Because of the white people, red Indian and Native Americans are deprived from happiness and pleasure and their own land. They have lost their own land. The root that they have in America, that root have been demolished just because of the white people. So this is the thing that was written in Chief Seattle's speech. So it's really very profound. It's really very deep in it. So you have to get it very well, because each and every line is very important and significant. So you have to chew it and you have to swallow it. The thing and thought should be imbibed into your mind and heart. Then you can get what is it in real sense. So the thing was that here in the Chief Seattle speech is written that your God will not be our God, because we people are separate. Our origin is separate. Our way of living is separate. Our color and complexion, each and everything is separate. We have different origin. We have different tribes, and we have different type of the religion. So how can we say that we people have a feeling of brotherhood, feeling of fraternity, a feeling of friendship? How can we create? It's not possible in the real sense. And you wanted to create such a friendship and a feeling of generosity between it. It's a surprising and amazing matter for us. I can't believe in it. Even into my dream, I can't believe in it. So this is the thing that was happening in the Chief Seattle speech. We have two distinct races and a separate origin, and nothing is common between us, because we people, our father is different, our God is different. Your God is giving a shower of blessing to you. Your God is always supportive to you. He is always giving you lots of things and pleasure, and always aside you as a supporter. But our God has forsaken us, has abandoned us. Your God is not helping me. This is the thing that I know. But my God has also forsaken and abandoned us. So we people are alone. We people are solid. We people are just living a solitary life. We don't have anything into our hand to do anything else. We are helpless now. This is the thing that is written in the Chief Seattle speech. So let's move to our next para. To us, the ashes of our ancestors are sacred, and their resting place is hallowed ground, purified ground. So for us, for the Red Indians and the Native American, where our ancestors were, when our father and grandfather are died, we people just buried them in sacred and pious places. But in your case, that is something different. You don't do. We just buried them, graved them in a sacred and pious places. Fine, because we think that they are valuable for me. They are priceless for us. We cannot get them back again. They will always with us as a memorable person, as a supporter, but in a life we cannot get them back. That is why we people buried them in our ground, because we people want that they will always with us and they will always give us their source of the blessings, and like this they always try to support us anyhow. But that is not in the case of the white people. That is something different. That is totally different, we can say, student. That you wander far from graves of your ancestor and seemingly without regret. So the ancestor are buried and graved from for distant places, far away from their home, and they don't regret of doing these things. They don't regret. They don't feel any guilt in doing destroying such a worst thing. They don't feel even shame in doing all these things. So what was happening there? This is the thing that was happening in the Chief Seattle speech. So student, that the ancestor of the white people are buried far from distant places. They don't bury them in the ground of their home, because they don't want to take any attachment or any feeling of love and affection from them. That's why they do. And even they don't feel any guilt and regret in doing such type of the worst thing. And your religion was written upon tablets of stone by the iron finger of your God, so that you did not forget. So the religion and the custom and the tradition, we can say the rules and regulation of your white people's religions are always written. Where it was written? Upon a tablet of stone by the iron finger. 10 commands are written by in the Christianity, tablets of stone, so that you might always remember them. You might never forget them. That's why it was written. The Red Indian could never comprehend or remember it. But it's really not in the matter of the Red and Native American. Nothing is written on tablets of stone, or nothing was written by the iron fingers. Even Red Indians and Native American don't know what is it. They don't know what's the actual sense of it. They didn't need to comprehend it. They didn't need to know the meaning of that, the rule that was written in the tablets of the stone. The Red Indian, our religion is the tradition of our ancestors, the dreams of our old men. So our religion is something different from that religion. Our religion is the tradition of our ancestors. So our forefathers, our ancestors have given us lots of education, morals, and etiquettes and manners. That is also our tradition. That is also our religion. It's not need to be right on the tablets of the stone by the iron fingers. That type of the tradition and rules and regulation, the etiquettes and the manners that have been given by our ancestors and the forefathers. So it's no matter that we have to write them down on the tablets of the stone by the iron fingers. And the dreams of our old men give them in solemn hours of the night by the great estates. So when we sleep at that time, they ponder some rules, some regulation, and the great spirit that pour into our mind at the time of our dream, at the time of the night. Given them solemn of the night by the great spirit, and the wisdom of our seconds is written in the hearts of our wisdom. And that were the thing. These all things are written into the hearts of the great Indians and the native people. These are into our hearts. These are into our minds. That is imbibed in our heart. We knew very well what are our religion, what are our civilization and tradition and the manners that we have. It's not going to be right on the tablets of the student. So student, are you seeing that in this speech, what's the basic difference that the writer want to explicit before us, that we people are really very different in manner and the custom and the tradition. The tradition of the white people are written on the tablet of the stone by the iron finger, so that it can never be demolished, it can never be spoiled. But our traditions and customs and the rules and the etiquettes, the manners that have been given by our ancestor, our forefathers, and that is given into our dream, and we imbibed them into our heart. There's no need to remember or write to anything. So that is the thing that is given in the Chief Seattle speech. So let's proceed to our next para. Your dead cease to love you, and the land of their nativity as soon they pass the portals of the tomb and wander away beyond the stars. Your dead cease to love you. Your dead stop. So the ancestors and the forefathers of white people stopped loving you, stopped giving a showers of the blessing upon the white people when they die, when they leave this world, when they are buried, when they are grieved. They stopped loving you, they stopped giving affection and the feeling of attachment. But that is not in the case of Red Indian and the Native American. The land of their nativity, as soon as they pass from the portal of the tomb and wander away beyond the stars, they are soon forgotten and never return. So they just gone away from there, and they never try to come back to give them the shots of the blessing. Even the white people never have such type of the attachment with their forefathers and the sister. They didn't want to remember them. They didn't want to keep them in their memories like this. And they are soon forgotten and never returned. So it is the thing that was happening with the white people, that they think that they will never come back into our memories. But like this, they are soon forgotten. Our dead never forget this beautiful dirt that gave them being. But this is not in the case of the ancestors of the Red Indian and the native people. They never forget us. Even after their death, they never forget us. They never leave this world. They always be into our memory, and they still love this verdant valleys, its murmuring rivers. They always love these natural surroundings like valleys, mountains, murmuring sound, and the flow of the river, the chattering flow of the river, the chirping of the birds, and the twittering of the swallows. These are the natural things, and the beauty of the valleys and the mountain and the landscape that you see in your day-to-day life. So students, these are the things that they wanted to keep into their mind, and after their death, after they leave this world, they wanted to come back again. And even younger and tender found affection, and they also have a lots of affection with their children, with their fathers, lonely-hearted living, and often return from the happy hunting ground to visit. And they always want to come in this world. They are haunted like us. They always strike us into our memory, into our heart. They are like haunted. To visit, guide, console, and comfort them. So they always be with us, and they always give us consolation. They always give us solace and satisfaction, and whenever we feel any problem, they always give us some guidance to sort out that problem, so that the Red Indians and the native people can get a sigh of relief. So this is the thing that the Red Indian have, but this is not in the case of the white people. White people, ancestor and forefathers, when they die, they never want to come back again, because they lose all the attachment and the feeling of friendship and love and affection with their children. But in the case of the Red Indian and native people, they always keep into their memory, they always remain into their heart as a pleasant memory, and they always solace and console them as a guide, as a protector, as a supporter of them. Day and night. So here we are seeing that Red Indian are Native American, they are haunted, and white people, they are hunters. So this is the basic difference that I want to explicit before you. This is the thing that you have to keep into your mind, that the white people are hunters and the red and the Native Americans are hunters. Day and night cannot dwell together. Is it possible for you that day and night can live together? No, it's not possible. Can goat and lions live together? No, it's not. Vegetarian and non-vegetarian live together? No, it's not possible. It's impossible thing. In the same way, Red Indian, Native American cannot, Red Indian, Native American and white people cannot live together. They cannot dwell together. It's impossible to say like this. You are sending me a proposal of create a feeling of the friendship between us. How is it possible? We have a separate origin and separate races. The red man has ever felt the approach of the white man, as the morning mist flees before the morning sun. So here the simile figure of speech is used. A very nice line is written over here. So I'm just writing over here. The red man, that one is Native American. Native American and the white people. White people, that is the morning sun. White people, that is the morning. Morning sun. And that is the morning mist. So just see the difference. Rich man, Native American. The simile figure of speech is used here. They are compared to this morning mist and this one morning sun. So student, it is said that red man has ever flee. So the live example for you, when the sun rises, when the morning sun comes, the morning mist flee from there at that time, immediate morning mist flee. So as the white people come, the red Indian flee from there because of fear. You got it? So, however, your proposition seems fair. I think that my people will accept it and I'll retire to the reservation to offer them. So you have given me a proposal of friendship. I think I justify it that it's fair. Nothing is bad in it. Then we will dwell apart in peace for the words that the white great chief seemed to the words of nature speaking to my people out of dense darkness. So you have given me a separate place for living, so I'll live there. I will remain there. So there will be a distance from you and me. And frankly speaking, great chief seems to be a words of nature speaking. And now this world looks me dark. No hope of ray into my heart. So student, this is the feeling of pathos that is written in the Chief Seattle speech. That is enough for you. I hope so that you have got it very well. Thank you and have a nice day.
Welcome to online classes of Shivaji Group of Institution. Student, myself Jiten Tripathi. Today I am going to explain the beginning part of this chapter. In previous lecture, student, I am giving to you some idea about the bond formation, how a chemical bond is formed. So, necessary condition explained in previous lecture. So there are three type of bond. First one is the electrovalent bond, and second one is the covalent bond, and third one is the coordinate bond. Coordinate bond. I think this coordinate bond not included in your syllabus. So some reference idea given to you in this lecture. Only there are two type of bond in your syllabus: electrovalent and covalent. So first of all, electrovalent bond. Electrovalent bond. So, student, how do you define the electrovalent bond? Bond formed by the transference of electron. Bond formed by the transference of electron is known as electrovalent bond. Okay, bond formed by the transference of electron is known as electrovalent bond. So what is the necessary condition for the formation of electrovalent bond? Between two atoms, one is metal and another is non-metal. Condition. First one is metal and another is non-metal. Okay. Second one, electronegativity difference. Electronegativity difference must be 2.8. Means one atom is electropositive and another is electronegative. One is electropositive and other is electronegative. Okay, so these are some special condition for the formation of electrovalent bond. Now just take an example. Formation of NaCl molecule. Okay, formation of NaCl molecule. So student, sodium is 11 atomic number, configuration is 281. Chlorine is 17 atomic number, configuration is 287. How these two elements acquire complete octet. For sodium, there is a two way. One is to eject one electron from its outermost cell, or to gain 7 electrons in its outermost cell. But sodium adopt easiest way to acquire octet complete, so that one electron is removed from the outermost cell. So minus one electron, so that at sodium acquire a positive charge and configuration is 2A. This is the complete octet. Similarly, here chlorine is also two ways to complete their octet. One is acquire one electron in its outermost cell, or to remove 7 electrons from its outermost cell. Here also chlorine is also adopt that easiest way to receive one electron from its outermost cell. So it acquires one electron. That is, chlorine acquire negative charge to form 2E88. Now, these two ions acquire complete octet. Now, how they attach with each other? See here. Sodium electropositivity and chlorine is electronegativity. These two opposite charges joined by a force of attraction that is known as electrostatic force of attraction. Two oppositively charged ions held together by strong electrostatic force of attraction known as Coulombic force also. So in such a manner these two ions joined by a electrovalent bond. Okay. Now next example for electrovalent bond formation, that is magnesium chloride. Formation of magnesium chloride, that is MgCl2. See here, student, chlorine again 17, magnesium is 12, chlorine is again 17. Here two chlorine atom, one magnesium atom. So individually configure these elements. 287, magnesium 282, and chlorine again 287. So chlorine again acquire one electron. Both the chlorine atom acquire one electron except one electron to achieve inert gas configuration. So this one is a chlorine negative 288. This one is also chlorine negative 288. Now for magnesium, how this magnesium atom achieve inert gas configuration or complete octet? To remove 2 electrons from its outermost cell. So after removal of 2 electrons, acquire 2 positive charge and having configuration 2A. Now these ions, magnesium double plus, chlorine single minus and chlorine single minus, how they attract to each other? By the strong electrostatic force of attraction. So they form electrostatic bond between these ions. So this one is a formation of magnesium chloride. So this is an idea about electrovalent bond. Number of bond transference is known as the electrovalency of that individual ion. Chlorine electrovalency is 1 minus 1. Magnesium electrovalency is +2, and chlorine again -1. This is the respectively electrovalency of these atoms. Okay. Now, next is the covalent bond. Covalent bond. Bond formed by the sharing of electron. Bond formed by the sharing of electron is known as covalent bond. Okay? Bond formed by the sharing of electron is known as covalent bond, and number of electron takes place in bond formation is known as covalency of that element. Okay? So, see here some example. Formation of H2 molecule. Okay? Hydrogen atom 1 electron, so configuration 1. Another hydrogen atom is also 1, so 1. So how do you symbolize this one? Hydrogen having 1 electron, and another hydrogen also having 1 electron. So these two atoms overlap so that containing 2 electrons in such a manner, or we can write it for bond formation due to sharing of 1 electron between both atoms. So single bond, one bond is mentioned, one for hydrogen and one for another hydrogen. So this one is also covalent bond. Now, formation of O2 molecule. O2 molecule, how will you form O2 molecule? See here. Oxygen is 8, that is 2, 6. Another oxygen is also 8, this one is also 6. To complete their octet, this one is also required 2 electron, this one is also required 2 electron. So, make 2 6 electron only, so outermost side, don't show inner side. Another oxygen atom also contains 6 electron. So both the oxygen atom share 2 electron. Now check it. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Because both the atom share 2 electrons, so double bond maintained between 2 oxygen atoms. Single bond, double bond, and another example is the triple bond formation. So that is the N2 molecule. N2 molecule, see here. Nitrogen atom, configuration is 7, 2, 5. Another nitrogen 7, 2, 5. Both the nitrogen atom have 5 electrons in its outermost cell. Okay. So 3 electrons required to complete their octet. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Both atoms share 3 electrons, so we can form triple bond between nitrogen atom. So this is an idea about covalent bond. Some other definition like polar and non-polar covalent bond, which is discussed in next class. This is all about today. So student, revise it and practice to make bond formation. Lot of molecule given in your textbook. So this is all about today. Best of luck to attending the class. Thank you.
Hello students, welcome in the online classes of biology. As you all know that we are discussing about lesson pollination and fertilization. In my previous lecture, I started this chapter and told you about pollination and self-pollination. Today I am going to discuss about second type of pollination, which is cross-pollination, and this cross-pollination is also known as allogamy. So let's discuss about this. So, as you know that in pollination, pollen grains from anther goes to stigma. When this transference occurs in the same flower or the different flower of the same plant, then that case was self-pollination. But when this transfer occurs between flower of another plant of the same species, then that transfer is known as cross-pollination. That means pollen grains are traveling from anther to stigma, and the anther is the flower of some another plant and the stigma is in the flower of some another plant, and when this transference occurs, then this pollination is known as cross-pollination. This cross-pollination occurs in both flowers, that means unisexual and bisexual, because if it is unisexual, then it will gain reproductive part on some another plant, and if it is bisexual, then also it is capable to do cross-pollination. And the result of cross-pollination is that it results in intermixing of genetic characters. When the stigma and anther is of different plants, the pollen grains are for somewhere else and the megaspores are from some another plant, then when these fuse together, the genetic intermixing take place. Genetic characters are intermixed. The characters of two different plants are mixed together. And now when the genetic variation takes place, when the genetic change takes place, it brings variation to the plant. That means changes to the plant, which is very necessary from the evolutionary point of view. Now coming to the next topic, which is adaptations for cross-pollination. That means what are the requirements for cross-pollination? So the first requirement is unisexuality. What is unisexuality? Unisexual flowers born on the same or two plants. If the flowers are unisexual, that means the male flower is separate and the female flower is separate. If this condition is found, if this unisexuality are found, then the chances of cross-pollination or the chances of allogamy is increased, because if a flower is unisexual, if it has only androecium or gynoecium, then it needs the other reproductive part of some other plant, and in that case, in that unisexuality condition, cross-pollination will occur for sure, because there is no other option for a plant to reproduce. Unisexual plants, I told you, are those plants in which only one reproductive organ is present, whether androecium is present or whether gynoecium is present. And when both the reproductive parts are not present, then it has to take next reproductive part from some other flowers. So this unisexuality is very important for the cross-pollination. Next thing is self-sterility. What is self-sterility? When pollen grains do not germinate on the stigma of same flower. We know that self-pollination occurs when pollen grains develop on the stigma of the same flower. But when what happens if that stigma is sterile? That means it has not capacity to reproduce, it has no capacity to show reproduction. In that case, pollen grains when do not germinate of the stigma of the same flower, self-sterility is present, then also the chances of cross-pollination occurs, because in that case cross-pollination takes place. Next thing is dichogamy. What is dichogamy? Dichogamy is the process or is the situation when flowers which are bisexual, that means the flowers in which both male and female parts are present, that bisexual flowers have both stamens and carpels on them, but the maturation period, the maturation of stamen and the maturation of carpels occurs at different times. They mature early or later on. This dichogamy has two stages. First protogyny and second protoandry. What is protogyny and protoandry? I told you that the maturation period is different of stigma and carpel. So protose means first, which is present in both the condition, but the second word of both of them are different. So gyne means female. So in that case, when gynosium develops first, gynosium becomes mature first, then that condition is known as protogyny. And just different of that, if andros, that means male part of the flower, that means the stigma of the flower grows first, then that condition is known as protoandry. And when the maturation period are different, when both the stamen and carpel are not able to mature at the same time, then also cross pollination occurs. Next is hercogamy. What is hercogamy? Hercos means barrier. If there is some barrier between stigma and anther that they cannot meet with each other, then also cross pollination takes place. For example, there should be a hood covering over the stigma. In some cases, in some flowers, there should be a hood over the stigma. As I told you that this is the stigma. And if there is a hood over it, there is a covering over it, then that condition was responsible for cross pollination, because in that case the anther was not able to come in that stigma, so it will go somewhere else by the help of pollinating agents. Next condition is if that stamens liberate pollen grains on outside. As I told you that they have to liberate their pollen grains inside the ovules, but if they liberate their pollen grains somewhere outside, then also this condition takes place. That also becomes barrier, and which is responsible for cross pollination. Next thing is heterostyle. What is heterostyle? Heteros means different. In this case, the genetic composition, or we can say the formation of these flowers are different. That means if two flowers are present, one has long stamen and short style, and the other has short stamen and long style. So in that case also they cannot be able to reproduce or pollinate on their cell, so they have to do cross pollination. Now let's discuss about some advantages and disadvantages of cross pollination. So advantages are that healthier offsprings are obtained. The offsprings which are obtained by the process of cross pollination are much healthier in comparison to the offsprings which are obtained from the self pollination. Next thing, better germination capacity. The seeds which are produced has the better capacity to germinate. And most important, that abundant and viable seeds are present. That means we can obtain very good quantity of seeds. And variations are also introduced. As I told you that variations takes place in that case. But also with the advantages there came some disadvantages. So disadvantages